Hello YouTube, this is Dazzathecameraman. Today is Thursday, July 6, 2017. That's New Zealand time, of course. And I'm pleased to have with me Anon Imus and Mrs. Red. And we're hoping to have a couple of other people join us soon. They're just trying to sort out their technical problems, trying to join the hangout. And this hangout, of course, is to discuss the type of anxiety and stress that fear-mongering and fear porn causes many people. Now, of course, to a lot of people, the videos are simply entertainment. I guess they're not too different to watching a thriller movie or a drama or something like that. But to some people who are quite anxious and vulnerable, these sort of fear-mongering videos can have quite an effect on them. In fact, some people can become suicidal. Some people have actually committed suicide. So on that, I'd like to welcome Mrs. Red, and we're going to take a look at her video, which I've also shared on my channel. Thank you, Mrs. Red. Would you like to say hello?
Hello to you all.
And hello, Anon Imus. Okay, so I'm going to present Mrs. Red's video, and we're going to take a listen to that. It's 6 minutes long. Just bear with me as I switch over. I'm using two computers at the moment, so I'll just have to mute myself and then start the audio on the other.
Just let me know if there's a problem with the audio. Sorry, just give me a minute.
This is Isabel Taylor. She was 16 years of age when she took her own life. Fear porn contributed to this lovely girl's suicide. She talked often to her parents about how the world was going to end in 2012. And after her death, it was discovered she'd accessed dozens of websites and videos devoted to an apocalypse. The most recent article that she'd read before killing herself was about sunspots and what would happen to the earth if it all went badly wrong. This is Lynn Benedetto, a 47-year-old mother from California who in 2011 attempted to kill her two young daughters and then herself because she'd been fooled into believing that the world was about to be thrown into an apocalypse. I have no photograph of Chaya Lal, a 16-year-old girl from central India who in 2008 took her own life by ingesting poison. She'd been watching locally produced TV programs that conveyed that the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, when started up, would cause the Earth to crack and we would all perish. Indian TV channels had held various discussions in the days leading up to the Large Hadron Collider being turned on, all predicting doomsday scenarios. Clinical psychologist Nadia Masand told the BBC later that some of the TV coverage had been irresponsible and that this fear-mongering coverage could have had a very adverse effect on emotionally weak people. Australia, 2005. Teenager Tasman McKee began to learn about peak oil theory, reading the words of the absolute worst doommongers on the subject, and becoming part of doomsday forums and mailing lists. He eventually believed that there was nothing but bleakness and despair in the future. He became obsessed with it. He disappeared to a remote area, and his body was eventually found 2 months later in December 2006. He had taken his own life and had left a suicide note. Additionally, in his final emails to friends and family, he'd mentioned the websites he was reading, and it was absolutely clear that this material contributed to his ending his own life. Let's bring it up to date now. This is 15-year-old Ella. Her photo is pixelated because neither she, nor her parents, nor I wish to identify her to the public. I've known Ella her entire life. Ella has high-functioning autism. She loves music, chick flicks, and space. and it was the latter that led her into the mire of fear porn. Ella loved watching space videos on YouTube, live feeds from the ISS, videos about distant stars and planets, what comets are made of, anything space related. And her parents were happy that she had such an interest. But one day she stumbled upon a video relating to Nibiru and how it was on its way to devastate and destroy our planet. Intrigued, Ella clicked onto related videos, believing everything that she was hearing, not realising that the vast majority of what she was watching was downright lies and not scientific in the slightest. See, Ella believes that people tell the truth. Everything is black and white to Ella. She started to become withdrawn and sad. Her parents were thankfully quick to notice this and ask what was wrong. She told them the things she'd seen and heard, explained that the end of the world was coming very soon, and that maybe it would be better if she could just go to sleep and die now because she was scared that when the end came it might hurt, and that she didn't want to see her family suffer. Her parents asked her to show them the YouTube videos she'd been watching, and they were horrified at the material Ella had subjected herself to, and even more horrified that YouTube allowed such absolute lies, fear and brainwashing for profit. Luckily, Ella believes her parents would never allow anything bad to happen to her, and in time, with gentle persuasion and counter-argument, they managed to convince her that it was all fiction, and that she had no reason to be scared or fearful or want to die. Ella's mum sent me an email with links to some of the videos. Let's just say it was the usual suspects, mostly the larger channels, the ones most convincing to the vulnerable. In turn, I emailed her mum some links back to suitable videos that logically showed how wrong and deceitful these fearmongers are. This helped with Ella's recovery. And Ella is far from being alone in being pulled into the Nibiru shithole. I've encountered many sane and sensible adults who were also taken in by these liars and chancers. The now retired David Morrison, senior astrobiologist at NASA, had publicly stated that he'd received a large number of emails and letters from people worried about the world ending. Most often these were young people who couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, some suicidal, all genuinely frightened. He said he'd heard from teenagers considering killing themselves because they don't want to be around when the world ends. I'd heard from women contemplating killing their children and themselves so they wouldn't have to suffer through the end of the world. So, all you purveyors of fear porn out there, how would you feel if it was your child killing themselves or wanting to kill themselves because of all the lies and bad science that people of your ilk spew out? Would you be happy with yourself? Pleased that you'd absolutely managed to convince someone that they should just die because the end was coming soon anyway? Would it make you feel successful and fulfilled? Will you continue to enjoy the blood money you've collected? Does any of this make you sit back, think, take stock of the damage you could be causing? Are you just so full of your own self-importance, loving the drama of it all and enjoying the financial benefits your lies are providing for you, that quite simply you don't give a damn? Morals and responsibility. Not one of you know the meaning of those words.
Thank you, Mrs. Reid, for such a powerful video. Would you like to make any further comment on that, please?
No, I think I said it all in the video. The reason I made the video was because of somebody, a child I knew well, who had been affected by it. I'm happy to say that she is no longer affected. She realises that everything she was watching was just complete and utter rubbish. And hopefully more and more people, as each day goes by, will learn what they're watching is rubbish.
Absolutely. And that was a very powerful video, and I thank you for uploading it. And just to be clear, Isabel Taylor, some people have claimed that this is a fake story. I have checked this out thoroughly. Anybody that can do a bit of basic research can check out the story. You can even find the report that was done by the, I'm just trying to think, it's not the coroner, there's another term that they use, who did the report into Isabel's death and the reasons behind it. I also tracked down Isabel's parents. They also did a charity event through a local a wildlife, sort of a mini zoo or wildlife farm, to raise some funds in memory of Isabel. This is a very true story. It is not fake news, and she did hang herself in 2011 because of her fears over the claims being made about the end of the Mayan calendar. And this is the type of fear porn that we're talking about. The whole Nibiru, Planet X, claims of pole shift, catastrophes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and everything that you can think of. And you made some very good points about, you know, what is the motivation for making these sort of fear-mongering videos? And I've openly been very critical of certain channels and their reason for putting out their videos. And one person, of course, is Nibiru, Planet X, The Awakening. And I absolutely believe that Scott knows exactly what he's doing. And I've said to him publicly that he has no conscience. And this is really all about a business to him. It's all about money. It's not about truth. It's all about lining his pockets from his views. And of course, the more incredible sounding his videos, then the more views that he is likely to get. And I see in his very recent uploads, let's just take a look at a couple of screenshots from his recent videos, if I can pull that up. And these are from my email notifications of Nibiru, Planet X News, Nibiru, Planet X, The Awakening. Planet X News has uploaded Doomsday Report. Extremely intense hailstorm hits Spain. I'm not sure how to pronounce that other name. I don't know if you do, Mrs. Red, or Anonymous. Girona, Spain, is it?
Yes,
Girona, Spain, yeah.
Girona, Spain. Okay, now I believe that he's actually changed the title. It's just now Extremely Intense Hailstorm Hits Girona, Spain. But you can see that in the original upload, he had Doomsday Report on there. You know, let's focus on the doom. As the next one, Doomsday Report, 56 dead, 22 missing as massive floods hit China, 11 million affected. Well, certainly there's some major events happening in the world. Weather has always happened, and I'll be the first one to admit that I believe that the climate is changing, but it's got nothing at all to do with a mythical, non-existent brown dwarf supposedly passing through our solar system. It's got everything to do with climate change, and you know, the whole reasons behind whether it is man-made or cyclical, that's a whole different debate. But the fact is the climate is changing, but it's got nothing to do with Nibiru, Planet X, because there is no brown dwarf or rogue planet passing through our solar system. So this is a sort of fear-mongering, Doomsday Report. You know, let's cash in on the doom. Let's really promote the doom and get everyone watching the videos, because that's what it's all about. You guys have any comments that you want to add to that?
I think in a lot of cases, it's not just about money making. I think a lot of it is about attention seeking as well. It's look at me, I have all this fantastic information, crap information, lying information.
Yeah, that is certainly part of it. And I believe that if it was an honest attempt at sharing information, and you know, Scott, for one, claims that he doesn't need the money, he tells us, yet he's asking for donations and so forth for the physicists and all the rest of it. He claims that he had a very successful career in advertising and so forth. I suspect he was probably the paper delivery boy. But, you know, if the money isn't important to him, then he could simply stop monetizing his videos and stop asking for donations, because that seems to be his motivating factor. Now, of course, people criticize me because my videos are monetized as well, and I do have a PayPal link as well. But I have no problem with people doing honest work and receiving money for honest work. You know, if you want to make honest videos about real things, then you deserve to receive some income, some you know, some reward for your honest efforts. But if you're turning out bullshit and fear-mongering and so on, I don't believe that that is deserving of any reward at all. So what were you going to say?
I totally agree.
Anonymous?
He does with what.
Yep.
Okay. No, I totally agree there with what you're saying. And, you know, Mrs. Rowe, I just want to say that was a great video that you had put out there.
Thank you.
It's really sad to see the likes of Planet X, The Awakening, and Dr. Alberts. They really don't have a conscience, you know, on putting out the lies and shit that they are spreading. Yes, and it is, and it's purely for money. You know, it's like Dazza, like you said, if they didn't need the money, why monetize?
Yeah.
I totally agree with, you know, what you're saying. You know, it is all to do with money.
Yeah. And now, not only has he monetized his videos, his channel, he didn't stop there, but he's also made multiple channels and also monetized those. Now, why would he do that? There is only one reason that I can think of that he would do that, and that is to try and cash in even more by having more channels and spreading the same videos over multiple channels so that he has a multiple income source. If he was really honest and sincere about this, I'm sure he would just have the one channel that he would focus his attention on.
Exactly.
Yeah, completely agree.
Now, we had...
It's called...
Go ahead.
Sorry, Dazza, I was just saying there, it's called greed.
Yes, it is. It is greed. Now, we had hoped to have a couple of other people at least joining us in the Hangout. Now, one has not been able to join because of his browser problems. Another one was supposed to have joined us, but I don't know what's happened to him. Probably a problem with the time zones, which always causes confusion. And we had another person that was going to join us, but unfortunately it's way after midnight, and she's got young children and had to get to bed. She has an early start tomorrow, but she has sent a written statement, and she wants to keep her name confidential, so we're going to respect that. But I'll read this written statement that she has sent. I'll just, before I do that, I'm just going to stop presenting there. Okay, so here is the statement that we've been sent. I'm an anxiety sufferer and have been for 4 years now. After the death of my little girl in 2012, I came across the whole doomsday scenario in 2012 after losing her. I was left alone after losing my child and still to this day have never grieved. I suffer severely with anxiety over the unknown and have many of times tried to take overdoses after seeing articles of asteroids supposedly hitting on such dates, etc. And I'm actually a mother to a 3-year-old and a newborn. A little boy doesn't have the life a normal 3-year-old toddler is meant to have due to my anxieties. I only have to walk outside, and if I hear an unusual sound, I'm straight back into the house. It wasn't until around October last year I found Robert Walker and this group, presumably Vortex, I'm not sure, and have pestered people still to this day about articles. But since finding these people such as Robert, Dave and Paul and everyone else in this group, I wouldn't be here to this day to see my beautiful babies grow into the intelligent men they're going to be, and we can't let our children grow up with the anxieties we suffer because of this fear-mongering. I have gained some knowledge about not taking everything I see seriously, even if they're scientists, because I've recently found that even scientists have a specific way of talking about things. My advice is to not take everything you see seriously, do your own research, and even ask if possible. We can't let this go any longer, especially for our future generations. Stay safe, people, and love to you all. And she goes on to say, thank you so much to everyone who have helped me and somewhat overcome my fears every day. Every day I'm getting better, and that's all thanks to this group, and especially Robert Walker. So thank you, Robert Walker, and others, you know who you are, who help out in this community, debunking the sort of fear-mongering and fear porn that affects vulnerable people so badly. Now, not everyone, of course, is as anxious as this lady is, but there are some people who are particularly fragile and vulnerable, and these are the sort of people who are affected. Just like 16-year-old Isabel Taylor, who hanged herself in 2011 as a result of the crazy doomsday scenario end of the Mayan calendar, which, as we all know, here in 2017, amounted to absolutely nothing, just as the debunkers said it would amount to nothing. Panel?
It's such a waste of a young life, you know, on how it is this young girl hung herself. I find that very, very sad. And, you know, people should be totally ashamed of themselves for the fear-mongering that they're putting out there and the facts that it does have on people. And people don't realize, you know, also their mental health state is affected in a big way by this, you know. Yeah. As for what you just read out there, Dazza, I have dealt with this quite a while now. And, you know, she, at the very start, when I got to know her, she was really, really bad with her anxiety. And this is how it does affect people, folks, you know. A life can be taken within split seconds of this fear-mongering and issues and anxiety problems, panic attacks. It's not good. It's really, really not good. But yeah, you know, as I say, if something has to be done about it, like YouTube are big into a big part of this as well, and not actually shutting down these channels. But the problem is, again, YouTube is making too much money.
Yeah. Yep, and that's right. Unfortunately, it all comes down to money, even for YouTube, because it is YouTube that runs the advertising on the videos on YouTube, and there has been a big backlash from advertisers recently because of the sort of videos that were being uploaded that their adverts were being placed under. That's had quite a big effect on videos, but still the fear-mongering continues. The fear-mongering doesn't stop. All the videos are out there just as before. Now, there's a comment that some of these fearmongers and others use to try and justify themselves when they say, well, you know, these people that commit suicide or attempt to commit suicide obviously had underlying mental health issues to start with. They had underlying problems of anxiety. And they use this excuse to try and justify themselves. The way that I see it, I don't believe that that is any excuse or justification, because if you know that what you're posting is bullshit, let's call it for what it is, and all you care about is the money that you're going to make on your videos, then it seems to me that you have no conscience about the effects that your videos are going to have. And why use an excuse and say, oh, well, you know, these people have underlying mental health issues or whatever you want to call it, why use that excuse when you know that your video could be a catalyst for that person harming themselves or committing suicide? I think that's a pretty weak excuse.
I do think that a lot of the bigger channels actually relish the power that they might have, relish the power to hurt somebody's mind. I do think it can lead to a power trip for some of the more, let's just say, idiots around.
Yeah. I see we've got Jeff from Truth Nerd has just joined us. Welcome along, Jeff.
How you doing, guys? How is everybody?
Very good, thank you.
Hi.
Hey, Jeff.
Great. Glad I could join.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So, Jeff, what's your take on the fear-mongering and the effects that it has on people? You've probably had a number of people comment on your videos and give you feedback.
Good Lord, yes, lots. I mean, some are just so stuck. It's like, I think some almost enjoy the thrill of being scared, which I don't totally understand at all. I think lots of channels out there are thriving off that, and they're definitely selling the fear. But I mean, there are some legitimate people. My wife, for example, you know, back in probably 2010, I started, you know, all this, you know, second son Nibiru type stuff, and you know, we would be camping or out at the beach and taking pictures of the sun with our cell phones, and you know, getting all the, you know, normal camera anomalies that we all know about now. And I would say a couple of years into it, it really started, you know, she already deals with anxiety, and I think it was making it worse until I you know, I found, you know, channels like Astronomy Live and Dazzathecameraman and people like that, and kind of, I mean, I guess after a little while I was already, you know, I was waking up to the fact that, you know, when you think about this with reason, you know, why isn't the average person, you know, talking about two suns in the sky and planets in the clouds and all this other stuff? And you know, I'm a fairly intelligent person, and I think after a little while it kind of, you know, set in that, you know, it's all just BS. But I mean, to people that aren't level-headed and are not reasonable, I mean, they can make something out of nothing, and you know, channels like WSO and Nibiru 2016 and Matt Rogers and Chris Potter and all these guys, I mean, they're living off that. They're selling it to people, and it's just not right. And every time you try to bring up something about someone committing suicide or suffering from depression or something, you know, all these people that push this stuff, they just, oh, that's BS, that didn't happen, this didn't happen. But it's because, like you said, Daz, it's affecting their pocketbook, it's affecting their money stream, and it's just wrong. That's the whole reason I got into doing any of the debunking stuff, and is just it's wrong to lie to people and to push things that, you know, aren't real. It's a bunch of crap, and I don't go for it. So that's my take.
People who come across these websites and YouTube videos and have never heard of Planet X before, or these brown dwarfs, you know, orbiting the sun, these people, you know, they find one video and then they get intrigued by it, and then, you know, they keep searching and searching and searching. The more addicted they become to searching for these videos and looking for the truth to what's going on, and then anxiety and fear and panic starts to set in, and this is how it all starts.
Yeah, you're right. It does become addicting. I found myself, you know, spending lots of time every day watching videos of all this. It's almost a godsend that I got sent out into the field, because I was even being sucked in, you know, from both sides, the truther community side and the fear porn side, because you have to watch the fear porn stuff to keep up, you know, with what's going on that side, to be able to make videos on the truther side. And You know, I'm not working in the office now. I'm kind of out in the field, and I don't get quite as much time to investigate this stuff anymore. But it can easily suck you in, and it's, you know, and they prey off the gullible people. Scott Cohen's the worst for it.
You know how to manipulate people, you know.
Yep.
But it becomes like a drug. You need to feed the habit more and more than you do, the more you are stressing yourself out, the more you're putting the pressures on your mental health. It's crazy, and people like this really just don't have a conscience. They really don't.
I have actually talked to people quite recently whose marriages are on the verge of breaking down because their partner is not believing this brown dwarf stroke Nibiru stroke pole shift apocalyptic nonsense. You know, and this lady's husband was just ready to leave because he just couldn't take any more of it. So, you know, it's not just suicides. It's breaking up relationships as well, family ties.
Absolutely. And then they get looked at like there's some kind of wacko on top of it all.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm just going to share my screen again. This might take a few people back to, when was it? October 2016. I posted a count up timer. Time since Nibiru Planet X 2016, this is Scott Cohen, of course, pushed the panic button. And this is
quite
from
a while
October,
ago.
yeah, October 18th, 2016. We're now into July 2017. So it's been 8 months, 2 weeks, 3 days, 20 hours and 31 minutes since Scott pushed the panic button and posted this video claiming all sorts of catastrophes were about to go down. And of course, that's when his channel name was called Nibiru Planet X 2016. That's so last year. And of course,
hey,
he
we're
had to
still
change.
here.
Yeah, and of course, he had to change his channel name. He probably kicked himself for ever calling it Nibiru Planet X 2016 because he had having to update it every year. And of course, I did a hangout with Michael from Nibiru News, someone'sbones.com, and we heard that the supposed Dr. Shimshak, Dr. Sumshmak, had claimed that Nibiru is not going to be here now, he says, until 2055. So I just had visions of Scott renaming his channel if he was still alive. Yeah. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Scott from Nibiru Planet X 2055 with the latest updates on Nibiru. I mean, this has been going on really since 2003, when Nancy Leader announced that Planet X was about to arrive. And she advised her followers back in 2003 that they should euthanize their pets and save their pets from, you know, all the disaster, the catastrophe that was supposed to happen in 2003. She actually killed 2 of her pet dogs. And I hate to think how many of her followers might have followed her lead and also killed their pets like she did. Well, here we are in 2017, 14 years later, and we're still waiting for Nibiru to arrive year after year after year. I've been debunking Nibiru now for at least 5 years, I think 6 years now. Still waiting.
Yeah, it's
and no doubt
the slowest moving. Sorry, Dazza.
Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
I was just going to say there, it was the slowest moving planet I've ever seen.
It is. You know, if we think back to the comets, all the hysteria over Comet Alanin, and then Comet Ison. Yeah. Remember, I think it took about 10 months from when they were first discovered until they got to their closest approach to the sun. Now, they're tiny little comets, of course, with a diameter of just a few miles. Something like Nibiru is supposed to be, you know, a brown dwarf larger than Jupiter. would be very easy to see a lot further out. But this thing, 2003, 14 years, and of course this was all started from back in 1983 with the IRAS Infrared All Sky Survey, and they were using new infrared technology, and as a new technology they made new discoveries, and they detected things that they hadn't seen before, and they didn't know what they were looking at first. They still had to analyze the data, and they did think that maybe it was a large planet further out. It turned out that what they were looking at, in fact, was what they've since called an ultra-luminous infrared galaxy. And this was the infrared signal from this background galaxy that they were seeing. It's been positively identified of what they were looking at. It wasn't Nibiru Planet X, but that's where this whole thing really started from, was the IRAS survey. There's a very good breakdown of the history of it on the Bad Astronomers blog, Bad Astronomy. Hopefully I'll remember to put a link in the description area for that article. Panel?
So which comet is Nibiru this week, according to Igor?
Well, according to Igor, it's Comet Catalina US10. Well, the problem with Comet Catalina US10, I mean, he's using Starry Night to show the position of US10 and calling it Nibiru. But US10 is actually on its way out of the solar system. As I recall, it was out beyond the orbit of Jupiter, between Jupiter and Saturn, and it's actually heading away from us. So he's
going to have to come up with a new one.
Yeah, well, if Catalina US10 was Nibiru, of course, well, it really was a non-event.
I'm more worried about the huge chocolate teapot.
Yeah, I should be more concerned about the huge chocolate teapot. I think there's much more chance of the huge chocolate teapot causing a catastrophe than Nibiru.
Which ought to watch, wait for that big chocolate plasma cloud to come by. All the stars, all the sky is going to be turning brown.
Well, I really should post an update on the huge chocolate teapot and its position. I've been sent some classified information from a NASA whistleblower, a Dr. William Wonka.
Very good.
He's got the latest information on the huge chocolate teapot.
I think I've spoken with his assistant, Professor Hershey.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the fear-mongering really does have a price. It comes at a price. Some people are lining their pockets from it, but to other people it is very serious, and it can even cost them the ultimate price, being their life, of course, as we've seen. And so we've got some excellent Facebook pages, such as Cosmophobia. We've also got my Facebook page, Voices of Reason to Explain X, Vortex. And I regularly see comments and messages from people. In fact, we actually have a few members on those pages who are regularly posting articles that they come across online, and they post them on these pages and ask the question, is this anything to be worried about? And that's their anxiety in action, and they constantly need reassurance from people to show them why what they're reading or the video that they're viewing is nonsense, because their anxiety is such that they're gripped by fear. And every time they see a post like that, a video or an internet blog or whatever, that seems to be claiming that that there's doom happening, they need constant reassurance.
And that's the thing is, this that people have, it leads to depression in a big way also.
Yes, it does. Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I see that a lot in a lot of the groups. People are always asking for like affirmations of things they're seeing in the skies. And, you know, if these fear-monger channels didn't exist, you probably wouldn't have quite as much of that, you know, because then things just become normal again, like light refraction and clouds. And, you know, that's not even mentioning the camera anomalies that go on. People don't understand how cameras work at all, and the reflections and the flares and the things that happen, and that all adds to it, because people see that people don't understand that, and then they just push it even more. WSO is big culprit as far as that stuff goes.
Yeah.
Constantly pushing the webcam, the all sky cams and the weather cams, and you know we've all seen the little pink blob on all those cameras and everything. That is just a reflection on the housing, and you can prove it till you're blue in the face, but some people just don't want to believe it. You can show that, you know, on the actual rim of the camera, not even in the camera's sight, and people still won't believe it. It's just unbelievable how fear takes over, and you know, that's the whole pareidolia. It just, people see what they want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's sickening, you know. With the number of videos that we've all uploaded on our different channels looking at these claims over the years, I don't think there's probably much that hasn't been debunked. What we see is the same old fear-mongering nonsense, like the all-sky cameras constantly being recycled, if you like, rehashed all the time. You know, we get these cycles of things like the Nibiru station webcams or the all-sky cameras and things like that. You know, but if you go to the videos on the debunking channels and just go through the playlists and so on, or even do a search, you will usually find that there is a video there that has already well and truly debunked these claims, even years before.
Yeah, anybody that uses, you know, the sky cams or any cam to cite that Nibiru is in the sky and is close to Earth, and you know, it's absolute bullshit. It's crazy. You cannot claim that something through looking through a sky cam is there. You know, it's, because like one thing is, them cams aren't probably calibrated. Dirt on the lens, as Truth Nerd said, you know, reflections on the lenses and the housing. You know, it's crazy.
Well, you got to take into the account that those cameras are they're using auto settings too. So when you see things like sunsets and sunrises, the ISO is automatically changing, and that sometimes will give you that flickering, and sometimes it'll make it look like there's multiple light sources and things like that, because the camera can't decide, you know, should I raise my ISO, should I lower my ISO? And so that's why you get a lot of weird anomalies. And you know, people that don't understand, you know, camera settings and stuff, don't get that. They don't see what's going on, where, you know, people like Daz and myself that use cameras all the time, we know exactly what's going on, but people don't want to hear it. It seems like they'd rather just call it some kind of crazy, you know, the sun's flickering. And it's, you know, it's just the camera trying to adjust itself. And those things are just junk. They're just junk cameras. You can look them up, and they're like, I think they're less than $200. And they've got, you know, the big plastic globe around them. They're just unreliable. Bird poop gets on them, and insects. I mean, we all remember Jeff P's Nibiru spider. You know, they're just not reliable sources. And anybody, like Paul said, anybody that wants to cite those as reliable sources is just, they're just using another gimmick.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, most people using their cameras, of course, tend to just use the auto setting, as you mentioned, Jeff, and they don't really understand the manual settings, such as the ISO, the sensitivity to light, you know, exposure time, all that sort of thing that affects the exposure, the focus, all that. They just think, you know, you point the camera and it sees what you're looking at. Well, it's not always that simple.
No, absolutely not. That's the same reason why, you know, people always question the moon landing photos and stuff. You know, why can't we see stars in the background? It's, well, you know, because you have to have a different camera setting to allow you to photograph the moon that doesn't allow the stars to come in, because you need to gather more light to bring the stars in. But if you want to take a clear picture of the moon, you need to kind of kill some of that light so that you can get all the features. And, you know, that's why if you see a picture, a nice, bright, clear picture of the moon with stars in the background, that's an obvious Photoshop, because you can't get both. It don't work that way.
That's right. It's effectively, you're trying to take a photo of a night sky in the daytime, or vice versa.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
You have to have the exposure setting. Just because the sky is black, because there's no atmosphere to scatter the light into the blue color that we see on Earth, you know, it doesn't mean to say it's nighttime. If you've got sun falling on the moon where you're standing, it's daytime on the moon, and you're not going to see stars.
No.
Not unless you set your camera as required to see the stars. It's like when I film Jupiter through the telescope. I can either set the camera so that it's looking at the detail of Jupiter itself, and you can see the cloud belts, and you can't see those 4 main moons that you can see if you're looking through the telescope. Or I can set the camera and see those 4 main moons, but then you can't see the detail on Jupiter. It's, you know, it's one or the other.
Right.
And if you want to show both, then you need to use a composite image, which is the combining of the 2 images.
Exactly. And now the newest one that I've gotten, some of the I have an objective solar filter, aka a beta filter, that I made myself for like $10. Anybody can make one. And so I've been taking pictures of the sun over the past few months. And so now the new one is, oh, well, you've got your camera turned down so dark, that's why Nibiru doesn't show up. So it's just like you can't win for losing. You try to give them an objective picture of the sun, just showing the nice, because you see so many times that people are, oh, the sun is misshaped and it's brighter than I've ever seen it, and it's, you know, a different color and all this stuff, and so you try to give them a nice objective picture of the sun with all that flare and all that glare out of there, and that's the new one I'm getting now. Is, well, I've turned my settings down so low that you can no longer see Nibiru in the picture.
That's just crazy.
I try. I really try.
Yeah. Now, there's a total solar eclipse in the US on August 21st, next month. We're into July now. So the sun is going to be blocked out by the moon if you're in that central path of the shadow of the moon. And somebody sent me an interesting message a day or two ago saying that we were going to see Nibiru during the eclipse. Well, I remember being involved in a live broadcast for a total solar eclipse back in, I think it was 2012. And we were teamed up with SLU, who provided our video feed from the observatory. I was responsible for setting up the camera and the video feed for SLU. And I remember discussing with Paul Cox about the opportunity to debunk this notion that there's Nibiru out there during the total solar eclipse. But because with the sun blocked out, yeah, we're in shadow on the Earth, or a very sort of defined path, but anything else out in the sky, such as planets, of course, they've still got the sun shining on them. If Nibiru was out there somewhere around the sun, it would have the sun shining on it. We should be able to see it clearly when the sun is eclipsed. Well, of course, we didn't see that during the solar eclipse, and we're not going to see that again on the August 21st eclipse. I'm sure that people will upload videos claiming to show something. And this leads me to the other point, that if there really was something out there that these people claim to show in their videos and their photos, then you've got millions of people on the same side of the planet who can see the sun or the moon or the sky, wherever they're looking at that same point in time. Here we see some interesting things that people claim as Nibiru, such as sundogs, internal camera reflections, even Venus. But if there was something that was truly out of place, as I say, you would have millions of people, including thousands of amateur astronomers and astrophotographers and general sky watchers who are very familiar with the sky, who would be in an uproar about it. And the internet and YouTube would be flooded with matching images, all correlating the same sighting. But we never see that.
The thing is, you know, if something like that were real, we wouldn't be here.
Absolutely.
It's plain and simple as that. And another thing I just want to mention here also, like Dr. Albers is claiming that there's 5 brown dwarfs orbit in the sun. Let me say this, there's definitely not 5 brown dwarfs orbit in the orbit of the sun. Absolutely disgusting claims. Yeah. Valid claims at all, because if there was, we wouldn't be here talking about it, and the sun wouldn't be in the orbit. It would be either one of the brown dwarfs would crash into it, that off into space, and all the planets, all their orbits will be everywhere.
Yeah, all the orbits
would be all over.
Yep.
Yeah, we would not be here, plain and simple.
I've been thinking about the recent developments with Dr. Albers, Dr. Claudia Albers, and I wonder if she's actually stopped to consider what she has actually done to her career. Because she, as a, what does she claim that she is, a theoretical physicist?
Theoretical particle physicist.
Right. So I think that she's absolutely destroyed her career now, because I think anybody looking to hiring her as a theoretical particle physicist or anything along those lines will be looking at her history. And of course, once something's online on the net, it's pretty much there forever. And they're going to see all this nonsense that she's been posting about brown dwarfs within our solar system, brown dwarfs next to the sun, and all these ridiculous claims that she's been making. They're going to take one look at that and say, no way. And her career is down the toilet.
What do you guys think her agenda is?
I think it's Scott. I think Scott has promised her fame and fortune. That's the only thing I can possibly imagine. Because I don't get it. Why, if you had a successful career being a physicist, being a teacher, doing something, I would assume she enjoys doing it. I mean, you typically don't do something for 15 years or whatever if you don't at least like it a little bit. No. I can't imagine why she would want to give that up unless someone was promise fame and fortune, or maybe a movie or magazine cover or something.
Is she completely blind to his behavior towards people that don't agree with him? Is she aware of his background? It just all seems very bizarre.
That's the part that gets me, Mrs. RD, is I don't, she has to know, right? I mean, she's got to be.
She has to know, yeah.
She's obviously somewhat of an intelligent person. I mean, you can't say she's not. She knows all the terminology. She seems studied, all that kind of stuff. I mean, so you can't say the woman's a dummy, because she's not. She's had to at least seen one of our videos. I mean, how could she sit here and listen to Scott call out Dazza and call out Truth Nerd and call out, Troll and all these, and not at least, get a little bit inquisitive and want to go watch a few of these videos? And she's had to see the bullying and the cursing and the threats and all this stuff.
Of course.
How do you sit back and just be okay with that? That's the part I don't understand either.
Any sane person wouldn't.
No.
I think personally, she does have a health problem.
A mental.
I think she does.
Yeah.
Definitely. And Scott is just manipulating her into his way of doing things. As Truth Nerd said, he has promised her the earth. States what is going to happen. She'll marry him, get her green card, and that's what's going to be next.
I get the impression that
Yeah,
she's led a very sheltered life.
Yeah, I get that too. Even the whole if you guys recall, what was it, maybe 6-8 weeks back or something, when she took her plane ride and she was talking about how the sun was looked up there and everything. To me, it almost sounded like she'd never even been on a plane before.
If anybody that has been listening to her speaking in the last couple of hangouts this past few days, if you've listened carefully enough, you will hear her voice trembling. She has been trembling a lot, and she is lying.
Yeah, I've noticed
her
that.
body language says she's lying.
Yeah. But when she was on the hangout, but now she's starting to tremble, and we know she's lying.
Sorry, you've just dropped out there a bit.
She's sensing the end is near.
Yeah, I'm just saying, with her voice in the last couple of hangouts this past few days, we know she's telling lies.
Yeah.
There's a lady that doesn't tell lies, But Scott, I think Scott has got into her head. He's making her lie.
Yeah, I think she may have truly believed it in the beginning, but maybe she's actually starting to wake up and realize this is all just a bunch of BS. And maybe she is scared or something. And now what do when you're in that position? If she knows the type of person that he is, how can she just stop without fearing for her life? Because then if she did just come to that decision that, hey, I'm out, Scott, I'm not digging this anymore, I don't like lying to these people, it's ruined my career, my credibility, I want out. It's almost like one of those kind of mafia type things that's, once you're in, there's no getting out. So maybe she's terrified now. Who knows?
Possibly, yeah.
Well, I'd like
to
extend an olive branch to Claudia. Claudia, if you're listening, and if you sort of come to your senses at any time and realize what a whole hoax this Nibiru Planet X thing is, and the negative effects that it has on people, I'm a very forgiving person, as people know, and I will always meet people halfway if they are trying to reach out. And so I extend an olive branch to you. If you want to come clean about these claims, and at some point in time, if you decide that this really is all nonsense, sure, contact me, contact any of the debunkers, and we would be pleased to hear your story.
Yeah, exactly. I will also say the same thing. I have invited them to my hangout tomorrow night. Also, Scott has said will debate any place, any time, anywhere. So I am offering Dr. Albers to come over to my hangout tomorrow night and let's have a debate on their latest claims of what is going on in the solar system. I will be very clear. I will give them the chances to speak and not interrupt. And I will look forward to seeing them tomorrow night.
Right. Thank you, Paul. I just want to go back to a comment that Stephen made in the chat. Just trying to find it again now. He made the point that, isn't it amazing how these groundbreaking discoveries, I'm just trying to find the original, it's disappeared up the thread now. These discoveries have been made by armchair YouTubers. Very good point. You know, you've got Scott from Nibiru Planet X supposedly showing Nibiru next to the sun and all this. It's always these YouTubers like WSO or Jeff P and different ones, you know. And you've got serious astrophotographers, you've got serious amateur astronomers with, you know, very good equipment, including infrared cameras. You know, Astronomy Live has a dedicated infrared camera, and yet he has never found Nibiru in any of his images.
I've yet to find it. I was just out taking pictures earlier today when I got off work. I got off work a little bit early today and had some time to go get some pictures. And yeah, I'm still looking for it. Haven't found it yet.
There does seem to be an awful lot of people completely ignorant of what the sky should actually look like, what's normal. It's like they've spent their entire lives just looking at their feet and they're only just looking up now and going, wow.
Right. But they'll tell you they've been looking at the sky their whole life.
Hogwash.
Yeah, like so many people. The sun seems to be setting more north than it usually does.
Look how red it is.
The sun only sets west, true west, one day a year. Of course it's setting more north. It's summertime.
It is laughable.
Oh my God, I can see the moon in the daytime sky. Something's wrong.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Right, yeah. I've never seen the moon in the day. What's going on?
I've never looked up during the day.
The one that's really getting on my nerves lately is all the cloud planet people. Oh God.
Oh God, yeah.
It's getting, I think I get in an argument at least once a day with a cloud planet person that they just, I don't understand it. I just don't get it. I really don't. How they can think that these planets are so huge that they're covering up like our whole atmosphere and we don't feel any effects from it. There's not, 1,000-foot tall tsunamis, and there's not, 9 and 10 point plus earthquakes. And I don't understand how these planets can be like as close as the moon. There's like supposedly 6 or 7 of them or something as close as the moon. And they're all just happen to be rotating right around Earth. But yet we don't feel any effects from it. And every, when I go out a couple nights a week and shoot the stars or the moon or whatever, and how come it never blocks the nighttime sky? I don't get that one either.
There are some excellent astrophotography and amateur astronomy pages on Facebook with people who regularly post their own images from all around the world. And you don't see them showing photos claiming that they've filmed Nibiru Planet X or something strange in the sky that shouldn't be there. We see beautiful deep sky images of the stars, the Milky Way galaxy, the planets, the moon, everything except Nibiru Planet X. And it would be something that would be impossible to suppress on the internet. You just couldn't keep a lid on it if it were true.
Yeah,
those people are paid off.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. It's funny, the powers that be are able to keep the images of Nibiru Planet X off the astrophotography pages and all of that, but they seem to be completely powerless to shut down channels like Nibiru Planet X, The Awakening, and WSO, and Nibiru News, and all the rest of it. It seems to be very strange, these people that keep claiming that their computers have been hacked and astronomers have been murdered and whistleblowers have been murdered and all this sort of thing. And yet these people seem to be untouchable as far as their YouTube channels are concerned. It's quite remarkable.
Right. And, everybody's either paid off or they're being threatened or something. They're threatening or they're paying off tens of thousands, literally tens of thousands of astronomers, astrophotographers, astrophysicists. I mean, come on, really? I don't understand people that believe that. They have like no
Well, I
concept.
really wish my government check could hurry up. I've got a daughter's
Yeah.
wedding to pay for.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
I've
I
been
want to
waiting.
I want my check to come too.
Well, guys, I've been waiting for mine for 6 years now, and it still hasn't arrived. So, you know, the pace.
Dang
Think of the interest, though, Dazza.
What
Yeah.
makes me laugh? What makes me laugh is, you know, these channels, they slag off NASA and all the European Space Agency and all these other, you know, and what makes me laugh is they use their equipment to look for these planets around dwarfs.
Mm.
You know, it's
At the same time, they're telling you that they're lying to them.
yeah,
It's all
yeah,
CGI, all the rest of it.
yeah, it's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Okay, well,
Did anybody?
go ahead.
Sorry, Daz. I see the latest video today of Scott's. He went out this morning with his camera or phone or whatever and seen the magenta sky. Has anybody?
No, I didn't. Haven't got to watch that one yet.
No, I
I
haven't
was
watched it
working
yet.
all day.
No. Well, that video is false. It's fake.
There's a surprise.
You don't say.
One of the, if you look in the chat or down the chat, one of the people there has actually seen that video posted elsewhere, and Scott has just been talking over it as if he was outside. Yeah,
Right.
Kind of like his David Mead interview that we busted him on.
Yeah, he's done that.
yeah.
Yep. As I've always said, you know, you can always tell when Scott's lying. His lips are moving.
Right. That is truth.
You know, I've never heard somebody that can talk so much for so long.
Yeah. Now, of course, there's nothing remarkable about a red sky at sunset or sunrise. You know, I've taken photos of some beautiful red skies. There's more often than not, of course, when I see a beautiful red sky, I don't have my camera with me. I'm really kicking myself. Of course, with these newer phones and the phone cameras, you've usually got a reasonable sort of phone on you these days. But yeah, there's even in the Bible, it talks about the sky being red. You know, you can discern the weather by looking at the sky when it's red, and that was written nearly 2,000 years ago.
Right.
So maybe Nibiru Planet X was passing through like 2,000 years ago as well.
It's well, yeah, maybe during Noah's time. That I think wasn't that one of the passing Noah's time, and then the Exodus. I think that's all falls about in line there.
Yeah. Yeah, except probably the timeline would be all wrong, wouldn't it? So.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, and you know, and that's the part that you know, anybody that said, even read Sitchin, he did not predict anywhere around this time span. Like his prediction is like 900 years away or something like that.
Right.
So I mean, they're even the whole people that want to, you know, go with the whole Sitchin hypothesis and everything, that they're way off. It wasn't ever predicted around the early 2000s. We're still like hundreds of years away from this thing if it really were to exist.
Right. Now, it was Sitchin that talked about the Anunnaki, wasn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if anybody who listened to my interview with Michael from Nibiru News, someone'sbones.com, we played a clip listening to Dr. Sumschmuck, Dr. What's his name?
Shishmuck.
Shimschuk. Yeah, I've got Sumschmuck on my brain now. But even he, you know, initially he said that Nibiru was going to be very visible by January 12th, 2017. And then he said it was going to be visible by late 2017. And then he came back and said, well, obviously it wasn't visible by January of 2017. So they had to go back and check the data. And they came up with this new calculation that Nibiru would be arriving in 2055, which is 38 years from now. Oh, and the point I was going to make about Sitchin and Nibiru and all the rest of it was that Dr. Sumschmuck claimed that Sitchin was an idiot. He completely dismissed everything that he had to say, pointing out that he got quite agitated with Michael saying, "Oh, stop these stupid questions." He claimed that Nibiru was like 200 degrees below zero and it couldn't support life and all the rest of it. So, and then I see in one of Michael's latest videos claims that that Russia was preparing for a big military attack to deal with the Anunnaki in the Antarctic, because the Antarctic's nice and cold, so the Anunnaki like to hang out there. Well, that figures, doesn't it? They like the cold to 200 degrees below. I don't know what the temperature is at the Antarctic. I guess
so that's why the Russian Pope went there. He went to meet with the Anunnaki.
Yeah.
If you even getting into the whole Anunnaki thing, I think it was Oxford, and there was like a couple teams of these groups that have went back and supposedly retranslated all the Sumerian tablets and everything. And the new translation that they come out with, Nibiru was like a gigantic spaceship, like a Dyson sphere kind of thing. So that's really going to throw everybody off if that starts getting around, because everybody's looking for a planet or a second sun when they should be looking for a gigantic spaceship.
Yeah.
Does it look like the Death Star?
Yeah, exactly. Like a Dyson sphere.
The Dyson Death Star.
Hey, and I would believe that before a planet. Quite honestly.
First nerd, does it run in Duracell batteries like Nibiru?
It's I think you got to spell it backwards.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this timer, this clock that I showed earlier at 8 months, 2 weeks, 3 days, 21 hours from when Nibiru Planet X 2016. Oh, Scotty pushed the panic button on October 18th last year. And I've been debunking Nibiru for 6 years now. How many more years are we going to be having these conversations, waiting for Nibiru, while we watch these videos claiming that Nibiru is here, Nibiru's on its way, Nibiru's arriving next week, next month, next year? It just goes on and on and on. And these guys know it. These fearmongers know it.
In 2055, we're still going to be making videos and debunking it.
Yep.
We should make squares and take bets or something. Or give it an over-under. Weren't we supposed to? I remember back in April, didn't Mrs. Albers say that we were supposed to see it in May, right?
She did.
Wasn't that? So,
yep.
My birthday went by, my anniversary went by, Memorial Day, 4th of July. We still no sign of it. Something's wrong there.
Yeah, it was in the orbit of Mars.
Wow.
Yeah.
It gets around because now it's next to Saturn.
Yep, I was just going to do
that. Going back out.
Yeah. So it's swung from somewhere around the sun to out to Saturn in just hours, apparently.
Missed it by that much.
Yep. And apparently nobody's seen it, only them.
Well, because we're not awake. You got to be awake. That's the buzzword in a lot of the Nibiru groups is where you're just, if you're not seeing it, you're just not awake.
Yeah, it's like the
we're just,
I'm in the wrong.
They love to think they're special. Well, they are, but not in a good way.
Special
so
needs.
it's like the emperor's new clothes. You know, you have to have this special sort of intelligence discernment to see the emperor's new clothes. To everybody else, the emperor appears to be naked.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm just not special enough.
Belief that anybody could, you know, miss the Milky or sight the Milky Way for being a dust trail.
Yeah. So what we're referring to here is in Scott's video showing these images from stereo A. He claims that we can see a huge debris field coming in with Nibiru. And that debris field is in fact the Milky Way. We're looking towards the center of our own galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that in one of my videos.
I'm looking forward to seeing Dr. Alba's analysis on that image. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm sure it's going to be a laugh a minute. I've already downloaded the video, so I've got it there for safekeeping in case it gets deleted. But I'm sure it's going to be quite interesting.
If that stellar object was in the orbit of Saturn, seriously, we would be in trouble. Not only would we not see it in the sky, it would be very bright in the sky, that's without a shadow of a doubt. But the problem is Saturn's orbit would be messed up, or else it would hit Saturn.
Yeah, well, you know, I showed in my other video that the angular size of what he was claiming was Nibiru, the angular size was somewhere between 4 and 5 degrees. Now, the full moon in the sky has an angular size of half of 1 degree. So you can imagine the size of this object if it were real. And absolutely it would be reflecting light. But not only that, this object seems to be transparent because you can see the stars behind it.
She stated and cited that this object was 13 times the size of Saturn.
Right.
So how did she get her measurements? What did she use to get her measurements?
Well, it would have, if it was 13 times the size of Saturn, with an angular size of, say, 4 or 5 degrees, then it would have to be considerably closer than Saturn to have that angular size. Because if you imagine the actual angular size of Saturn in those images, Saturn is very small in those images, even though it's a huge planet. But even if you multiplied the angular size that we saw in the image by 13, you would still get something that was considerably smaller than what we were seeing.
Yeah. Oh, her assumptions are very poor.
Oh, it's just absolute pseudoscience. That's what it is. She is a scientist. Yeah, she has Dr. Claudia Alba's pseudoscientist. That is what she has become. She's destroyed her career. Her career is now down the toilet.
Along with her credibility.
Absolutely.
How any particle physicist can make these claims is diabolical and come up with these math equations. It's beggars belief.
And then have the nerve to say that a bunch of astrophysicists are wrong on top of it.
Yeah.
I'm sure she said on a number of occasions that she has no experience in astrophysics.
Mm-hmm.
She has. I've got her all over videos saying that she wants to understand and she wants to learn, and she doesn't, you know, she doesn't know what they're talking about and all that. I can't even remember. It was you know, a month or two ago when I put that video out. But yeah, I had some great quotes by her, how she wants to understand what the astrophysicists are talking about and stuff, and people are listening to her and buying all this crap.
So she suddenly jumped to being an expert. Just beggars belief.
She also claims Yeah, she also claims that she knows nothing about astronomy and she's not an astronomer, but yet she makes all the. So how do you believe a word that comes out of her mouth?
I guess all it takes is one airplane ride to become an expert.
Yep. I think we need to line up all those sound bites. I was thinking about doing a hangout, a psychotherapist thoughts.
Can we bring Chris Potter in?
Yeah.
Well, that would just be a psycho's thoughts.
Okay, well, we've been going for just under an hour and a half, so I think unless there's anything else that any of the panel want to raise, I'll wind up the hangout very shortly.
I'm good.
I'm all good.
Fear-mongering, bad.
Yeah.
Idiots that push it, bad.
Yeah. It pretty much sums it up. So thank you, Mrs. Red, for your excellent video. I had missed one earlier. It was a very, very good and powerful video. It really summed up the whole situation very well. So check that out on Mrs. Red's channel. I'll put a link in the description area under this hangout as well. So thank you, Mrs. Red. Thank you, Paul from Anonymous. Thank you, Jeff from Truth Nerd. And thank you to everybody in the chat for joining us. This is Daz.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.